Hello again, everybody. This is John with BestPriceNutrition.com. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about Allmax Quickmass Loaded. What it is, it's a weight gainer product. And real quick before I get further, because we get a lot of questions on, weight gainers and things like that, and some of them I can, knock out here because they're pretty common questions. A weight gainer is going to be a shake that's going to have not only protein, but it's usually going to have a significant amount of carbohydrates and fat as well. And the reason for that is if you're trying to gain weight, you need to create a caloric surplus. In other words, you have to take in more calories than you're burning. Now, there's some nuance there, where the calories come from. Yeah, that all matters because there is differences between macronutrients in terms of their thermic effect. In other words, how much energy do you expend actually breaking them down, protein being the highest. But generally speaking, you're trying to create that surplus. And, whether you're trying to lean out or bulk up, we're typically going to recommend you taking about 1 gram of protein per pound of your goal body weight. Assuming your goal body weight's within reason, if you're 125 pounds and your goal is 200, we're going to, come back down to earth. Let's work it in like 10-15% increments, and then as you get to the next weight, then you create another goal. So start there. So you're at about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, and then from there you want to manipulate carbs and fat in order to dictate, how many you need based on how many calories you're also burning. I can't give anybody a single answer as, hey, you need this much in order to get to this weight because, I don't know your activity level, and there's some other variables there to consider as well. But generally speaking, protein at about 1 gram per pound of your goal body weight. Fat, you got to have a certain level of fat. Going all low fat, whether you're, again, leaning out or bulking up, is not going to be advisable. There's going to be a minimum amount of fat you need for your endocrine system to function properly. And plus, some of muscle tissue is actually fat as well. Carbohydrates is really going to be the big variable in the macronutrients that you can adjust the most based upon your goals and activity level. So that's that. Now, Quickmass Loaded is a weight gainer. The carb to protein ratio, this is something I mention a lot when talking about weight gainers. That's what makes them different. For instance, something like Serious Massive Mountain Nutrition, there's 5 grams of carbs for every 1 gram of protein. So that's a pretty distinct difference. So you're not going to get a lot of protein in a small serving because for every gram, you're also going to have to take in 5 grams of carbohydrates, which means you're going to be mixing a lot of powder to, say, get in like a 40 or 50 gram of protein per serving. This is at a 2.5 to 1, so it's pretty significant, so you're getting a decent amount of carbs. For instance, the serving size on here is 4 scoops, which would be the equivalent of 167 grams of carbohydrates and 60 grams of protein. Now, some people might not want that, that much, so you could always cut it in half. How much you need from a weight gainer is also going to be dependent upon how many calories you're getting from whole food relative to what your goals are. So if my goal is 200 grams of carbs, 180 grams of protein, 60 grams of fat, well, how much of powder I need is going to depend on how much I've fulfilled of those goals from whole food. So that goes into that whole, I can just give you one whole answer. In terms of the source of carbohydrates in here, there's maltodextrin, there's dextrose, there's also, what is it here? Waxy maize starch, just a little bit, just like 3 grams. So, it's all carbs, it's all calories, so that's what you're looking for. I wouldn't get too hung up in that, you're trying to gain weight, you're getting them. So they also add a decent amount of fat in here too. There's about 14 grams per serving, so that's relatively high. They use coconut oil, which is nice, and that makes up the vast majority of the fats. 14 of the 20 grams is from coconut oil. Coconut oil is really healthy for you. It's a source of MCTs. They're actually metabolized a little bit differently than other fats. They don't have to be emulsified, so that's good to see. There's some other fats in here too, like borage oil, omega-3. It's fine. It's not a ton, and that's good because you don't want too many polyunsaturated fats. That's one thing I think people tend to take in too much. Generally recommend, maybe about 5% of your total caloric intake be from polyunsaturated fats, be it omega-6 or 3 or 9 for that matter. They list glutamine in here separately. The glutamine that's in here for the most part is just what naturally occurs in the protein. It's more of a marketing thing. People are always concerned about glutamine. And then they have some enzymes in here too, which is a nice addition, along with creatine. If you do the 4 scoop serving size, you're going to be getting that about 4 grams of creatine monohydrate. So that's actually pretty good. Overall it's a good weight gainer. The source of protein in here, this is going to be a whey, casein, and I believe there's egg in here as well. Yeah, whey, egg, casein blend. So it's a decent source of protein. And bottom line is, who's this for? Again, if you're trying to gain weight, how much of you use, as I said, is dependent upon your goals, activity level. Can it be taken with other stuff? Yes, it can. Some people, maybe if you're only going to use, say, 2 scoops a day instead of the 4, well, you might want to take creatine separate if you're trying to take, creatine. You want to get to about 5 grams per day, preferably creatine monohydrate. Allergies, obviously, if you have a casein allergy or whey allergy or egg, for instance, you'd want to avoid it. Gluten, it doesn't say anywhere on here it's gluten-free. It may very well be. Some companies are a little behind as far as getting caught up with that, but it may also have it in there, so you'd want to double check with the manufacturer if you have gluten intolerance or celiac. Otherwise, you're fine, nothing to worry about. Let's see here. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. One other thing I'd knock out real quick too is the metabolism myth. A lot of people think we're trying to gain weight, they're cursed with some fast metabolism. It's pretty rare and it's diagnosed, and the question I present to you is if your friend is 300 pounds and overweight and you're 150 pounds and you both got to walk up a flight of stairs, whose metabolism is going to be cranked up higher by the time you get to the top of the stairs? Well, your 300-pound friend, because it takes a lot more effort for him to get his big ass up there. Okay, that's the reality. Can you affect your resting metabolic rate by training more intensely and things like that? Yes. But that's not what's responsible for people gaining weight and losing weight, really. Again, it's very rare, it's diagnosed. In fact, they've done research at the Mayo Clinic, and usually the biggest difference between somebody who's obese and somebody who's thin, amongst other obvious things such as activity level and diet, is just simply sitting down more per day. Heavier people tend to sit down a lot more, maybe about 2.5 hours on average. This is based on the study. Obviously, there's variance there. Whereas people who are leaner tend to be busybodies, tend to stand up more. And if you extrapolate that out over the course of a year, that's a lot of calories not burned by sitting down. So just consider that too when you think, oh, I have this fast metabolism, I eat all this and that. If you really wrote it down or tracked it, you probably don't eat quite as much as you really think, or you're extremely active and you just got to eat more. If you're burning this many and you're only taking in this many or this many, you're either staying at the same weight or you're losing. So you got to get this up here if that's what your goal is. How high over this point as the number of calories you burn will dictate, how much excess body fat you have. At some point there's diminishing returns where you're just getting fat because you're just taking in too many calories, and it's really not leading to you getting much stronger. So, you got to find that happy medium. Best way to calculate it is, again, figure out about how many calories per pound your goal body weight. Maybe start at like 14 is enough roundabout number. 14 times your goal body weight. There's your calories. Knock out your 1 gram per pound your goal body weight, and then distribute from there based on carbs and fat, and go from there. So hope I was able to answer those questions. So Quickmass, it's about 2.5 to 1 in terms of the carb to protein ratio. Good source of protein in there, and that's pretty much it. That's the way to judge a weight gainer, guys. There's really not much more that goes to it. If you have any further questions, post them in the comment section of the video or blog. I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.